my name is Emily. I'm 40 years old, and I'd like to tell you about our family life. I work as an editor in a publishing house, and my husband, Mike, does programming for a large IT company. We have 2 children, a son, Jake, who is 10, and a daughter, Lily, who is 7. Usually our weekdays start early in the morning. I wake up at 6 and make breakfast for the whole family. Mike is always an early bird, so he is already sitting at the table when I bring plates of scrambled eggs and oatmeal to him. After breakfast, we all get ready to go out. I make sure Jake and Lily have all the things they need for school, and Mike makes sure he has his laptop and work supplies with him. I take great care of my family. My husband is always neatly dressed and ironed. The kids are always ready for all their classes and activities and fed on time. The house is cozy and orderly. I do everything to make my family feel comfortable and cozy at home. I make arrangements for shopping for the house, both groceries and furniture or household items. At the same time, I manage to work a lot. My office is close to home, so I get there in a few minutes in my car. Working in publishing requires my attention and creativity, so I spend most of my day editing and proofreading texts. From time to time, I meet with authors and discuss the details of their projects with them. Mike works in an office, so his day is spent in a more formal atmosphere. He spends most of his time at his computer, developing software and participating in meetings with the team. At lunchtime, he usually goes with his coworkers to a coffee shop near the office. But Mike has become increasingly late at work because of projects that have required extra time and effort. I didn't see his late arrivals home as anything strange. He had just recently found this job, and he was earning more than usual. At first, I tried to understand and support Mike in his professional aspirations. I knew his work was important to him, but as time went on, the distance between us began to grow. Domestic issues and responsibilities began to overshadow our connection, and the moments of genuine communication that used to make our relationship special were lost. Mike would come home tired and irritable, and I often felt unnoticed and unappreciated. Our conversations boiled down to mundane matters: who would cook dinner, when to take out the trash, or who to call for school. Instead of enjoying mutual support and romance, we found ourselves caught up in the daily grind. One day I came home early. Mike was home. I was trying not to make any noise in case he was asleep, and something strange happened. My heart sank when I heard Mike talking on the phone. I was standing in the hallway, and suddenly I heard his voice coming through the ajar door of our bedroom. My heart raced fast, and my thoughts froze.
"I don't want to leave the baby."
The words echoed in my head, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They seemed like a betrayal, the idea that Mike might have decided to leave us. I remained standing still, unable to move or react. My thoughts were racing, and I felt torn between wanting to tell Mike what I'd heard and wanting to gather enough evidence before I drew any conclusions. My heart beat faster as I decided to walk over to Mike and talk about what I'd heard. He was sitting at his computer, absorbed in his work, when I approached him. "Mike," I said, trying to keep a calm tone, "I heard you talking on the phone about not wanting to keep the baby. Can you explain who you were talking to?" Mike looked at me with surprise and looked down a little guiltily.
"Oh, I was talking to an old friend of mine, Jason, and we were just discussing our kids and how hard it is for us to balance work and family life. Nothing serious, just supporting each other."
I could feel the doubt slowly flaring up inside me. Mike had always been open and honest with us, so I trusted him. However, his constant delays at work and our estranged relationship left me confused and suspicious. "Mike, I've noticed that you've been staying late at work a lot lately," I continued, looking him straight in the eye. "It's starting to put pressure on our family and our bond. Can you explain what's going on? Mike sighed and sat in silence before answering. I saw his expression become serious and thoughtful.
Yes, I've had a lot of work and extra projects lately that required my time and effort. I've been trying to handle everything and not burden you, but it seems to be starting to take its toll on our relationship.
My heart clenched with relief, but also with sadness. I understood that his delays were work-related, but our estrangement and disappearing romance still needed attention. I wanted him to know that I needed him and attention for our family. I decided not to say anything to Mike yet. I felt I should have time to think about the whole situation and understand what was going on. But at the same time, I couldn't hide my emotions and the anxiety that gripped me. I tried to smile and act normal in front of Mike and the kids, but every time I looked at him, a storm raged in my soul. Over the next few days, I tried to be more alert and observant. I listened to Mike's conversations, paying attention to his behavior and reactions, but nothing was definitive proof of treason or betrayal. As time passed, my emotions and anxiety only increased. I felt that our relationship was turning into a secret tension, and the spark that had once been in our family was disappearing. However, I continued to hide my suspicions from Mike, not ready to draw a definitive conclusion until I had reliable evidence. My emotions were complicated and contradictory. I loved Mike and believed in our family, but I was also afraid that my suspicions might be true. I knew we needed to talk and figure things out before making a final decision. Soon I didn't have to look for signs of my husband's unfaithfulness. They found me on their own. This was certainly not the turn of events I had expected. I was home alone when I heard knocking on the door. A little embarrassed, I went and opened the door and found a strange woman on my doorstep. Afterward, I noticed her stomach. I wasn't expecting anyone to visit and was seeing her for the first time. Her eyes were filled with anxiety and uncertainty. I invited her in and took her hand, trying to reassure her. I of course began to guess who she was, but I didn't kick her out. I was very interested to hear her. "Hi, I'm Emily. Are you here to see me? How can I help you?" She sighed and struggled to speak.
I know this might sound strange, but I'm your husband's mistress. I'm here to tell you that I'm pregnant with Mike's baby, and I don't know what to do at all. He doesn't want this baby, and I can't raise and support it alone. It's not a small term. Aborting the pregnancy is not recommended anymore.
My heart stopped for a moment. I felt a huge mixture of emotions. Shock, pain, resentment. Thoughts rushed through my head, and I didn't know what to do or what to say. But at the same time, I knew I was faced with a woman who was also in a difficult situation. But how could he? We had lived together for so many years. We had children. I had been with him through so many hardships and problems and always supported and cared for. And then some young girl comes along and announces she's pregnant. It's absurd. I could not believe that my life would not be the same at this point. But I was determined and firm. "First of all, thank you for coming and telling me about it," I said, trying to suppress my emotions. "I realize we both have a lot of questions right now. Let's sit down and talk." We sat down at the table and I listened to her story about how they met and her feelings and fears. It turned out they had been together for 2 years. My husband had been leading a double life for 2 whole years. Now I understand why he often traveled to another city to visit his mother alone and why the programmer suddenly had a business trip for 2 weeks, every 3 months. Everything was a complete lie. She expressed her doubts and confusion about what to do next. There was genuine regret in her voice and an understanding that she had become part of our family history. At that moment, I wanted to get up, grab my things, and go far and away for a long time. But that's the act of a reckless woman. You can't run away from your problems. I looked Lisa, that was her name, straight in the eyes and told her with a sense of determination in my voice, "Lisa, I understand that you're pregnant with Mike's baby, and that changes the whole situation. If he chooses to be with you and raise this child, I will not stand in the way of your happiness. I am ready to divorce Mike and let him be with you and your future child." I saw mixed emotions on Lisa's face. Relief, embarrassment, and even some sadness. She said,
Emily, I didn't want to cause problems in your family, and I don't even know if I'm ready to be a single mother, but I appreciate that you haven't kicked me out yet on my doorstep and are willing to deal with the problem. If you're really ready for Mike to be with me, I would certainly appreciate it.
I shook her hand and said, "Lisa, the baby is the most important thing here. We both want him to grow up in love and care. I can't forgive Mike for cheating. It's not in my power or desire." She left, and I was left alone with my thoughts. It felt so empty and cold inside. I was no longer a teenager to suffer the loss of a loved one by crying into a pillow with tears in my eyes. I just sat there finishing my coffee, thinking about what to do next. I needed to be strong. Mike and I had 2 kids, and they shouldn't have to think that either parent was a scoundrel and a traitor. I needed to think things through and figure out how to do the right thing so that I didn't hurt myself or the kids. I gathered all my strength and told Mike to sit down with me and have a serious talk. My heart was beating hard, but I knew it was time to discuss everything I had learned. "Mike, I found out about your cheating," I began, looking him straight in the eye. "I've thought about it a lot and decided that what our marriage needs is honesty and openness. I want you to pack up your things and go to Lisa's." Mike was visibly stunned by my words. He tried to say something, but I interrupted him by continuing, "I understand that we may have different perspectives on our situation, but I can no longer live in a relationship that has degenerated into domesticity. I deserve to be with someone who appreciates and respects me, and I know I can find happiness outside of this marriage." And yes, Lisa came to me. Mike looked at me confused, as if he didn't know what to say. He tried to explain himself and apologize, but I had already made my decision. Mike, still confused, nodded silently. I gave him time to realize what was happening, and then I said, "I'm willing to divide the estate fairly and provide for our child, but I want you to leave here and start a new life with Lisa. I want you to find yourself and happiness, even if it's not with me. Oh, and don't forget that the apartment and the car are in my name. You made your own choices for someone else. How you provide for your new family and pay for our children's expenses is up to you." Mike finally found the words and expressed regret for his actions, but I knew it was too late. I was determined in my decision, and nothing could change my decision to divorce. The next day, Mike packed his things and left our house. We entered into a division of property and a settlement of obligations for our children. When I was left alone with my children after the divorce, my emotions were mixed and intense. My husband's infidelity was a huge blow to me, and I felt bitter and disappointed. It was hard to accept that the man I trusted and had built a family with was able to betray me. A sense of deception haunted me every day, and I couldn't shake off the questions. Why did he do it? And what did I do wrong? My self-esteem seemed shattered, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out where I had made a mistake. However, as time went on, I realized that it was his choice and his responsibility for his actions. I stopped blaming myself and realized that I deserved to be with someone who would respect and appreciate me. The feeling of loneliness was hard, especially in the beginning. I tried to cope with the daily tasks and taking care of the kids, but the nights were the hardest. In the silence when the kids were asleep, I often woke up with tears and a feeling of emptiness. I missed having a partner with whom I could share my joys and sorrows. But with each passing day, I began to find the strength within me to move forward. I learned to seek support from friends and family who were there for me. Through a process of self-discovery and reflection, I became more aware of myself and my needs. When Mike realized that he had lost me and realized that he had lost me and realized that his decision to leave for Lisa was a mistake, he began trying to rebuild our relationship. In the months following our divorce, he called me regularly and sent me texts and letters apologizing and expressing his regrets. He talked about how much he loved me and that life without me made no sense. However, by this time, I had already started dating David, my work colleague, who was always there for me, supportive, and believed in me. A special bond had formed between David and me, and over time, it grew into something more. David knew about my marriage to Mike, but he never imposed or embarrassed me. He was a patient friend, ready to support and listen to me at any time. Our companionship became a source of mutual understanding, support, and mutual crush. When Mike started trying to come back, I was already sure of my feelings for David. We built the foundation of our relationship on mutual respect, trust, and support. I felt that with David, I could find the happiness and harmony that was so lacking in my former marriage. When Mike found out about my relationship with David, he was disappointed and frustrated. He tried to convince me that he had changed and was willing to change his mistakes. But I felt like our time was over. I had already made my choices and didn't want to go back to the past that had caused me so much pain. Mike realized over time that he had lost me completely. He realized that a mistress could not replace what we had. I could feel his regret and sadness, but at the same time, I couldn't change my mind. I was ready to move forward with David, who always stood by my side, even in the most difficult moments. David is the man who changed my life. He not only became my partner, but my best friend, support, and backbone. He understood that I was going through a difficult time and was willing to give me the love and care I deserved. From the very beginning of our relationship, David showed that he was willing to come through and be there for me and my children. Not only did he show interest and attention to me, but he tried to get to know each of my children personally. He spent time with them, played with them, talked to them, and showed genuine concern. He was patient and caring about my children, paying attention to them and listening to their stories. He strived to be not just a stepfather, but a true friend and role model for them. He participated in their activities, helped with homework, and was always there to support them in all situations. David was also caring and attentive to me. He created romantic evenings, arranged outings, and surprised me with little surprises. He listened to my thoughts and feelings, supported me, and helped me deal with the emotional turmoil of my previous marriage. One of the things that impressed me was the way David accepted my children. Not only was he patient and kind to them, but he was actively involved in their lives. He became a support and mentor to them and helped them grow and develop. I watched my children begin to trust David and build a warm relationship with him. They saw how he treated me with respect and care, and it helped them feel safe and loved. My relationship with David grew stronger every day. We were partners who overcame obstacles together and found joy in the small joys of life. He showed me that love can be tender, supportive, and full of beautiful moments. Thanks to David, I was able to restore my faith in love and happiness. He has become the man I have always sought, and I am grateful to him for being a part of my life and the lives of my children. My story tells me that even after disappointments and betrayals, life can bring surprises and new opportunities. I found myself again. Found a partner who appreciates and loves me for who I am, and found the happiness I had been looking for. David and I are building our future together with support and understanding. He has become not only my partner, but also my best friend on whom I can always rely. We look in the same direction, strive for common goals, and support each other in all life situations. My children have also found David to be a reliable and caring father. He has become their role model and mentor, helping them grow and develop. We became a real family with love, respect, and understanding. Life after adultery and divorce was full of new opportunities and happy moments. I learned to forgive and let go of the past, and now I look to the future with hope and optimism. Life moves on, and I am ready to face new opportunities and adventures, hand in hand with David.